All righty, Anna, I've got to ask. I told my audience the other day, if the Fed goes 25, they're concerned. If they go 50, they're afraid. Well, they went 50. Is the Fed afraid? And if so, what are they afraid of?
They are afraid. It's funny, we talked about this and we both said they should go 50, but I thought they won't. They'll go 25, right? Because even though I know, and I've been beating the drum, that we are in recessionary conditions in most of the economy, even though it hasn't been declared yet, the consumer is stretched, the consumer confidence is low. The beige book of the Fed is showing in every single district that the consumer is slowing down. They're afraid, they're not spending, layoffs, et cetera, blah, 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 right? They should have cut 50. They should have done it sooner, but they've only done it twice in history. And when they
Yeah.
did it in history, it's because they knew there's a crisis coming. It's looming. So I liked the way that you framed that last week. Like, if they go 50, they're afraid, but they're not going to tell you. And I said, Michael, they're still not going to tell you. They're going to deny it. They're going to say, we're just trying to get ahead of it, right? We're going to focus on the employment side. The balance of risks is a little more there. They didn't backpedal as much as I thought they would. I thought if they go 50, they're going to be like, we're really not worried. And they kind of said that, but they lied, right?
Yeah, they lied. They lose all kinds of lies.
I thought if they do it, on one hand, the markets want it. So the markets would go nuts for a couple weeks until the reality hit them that layoffs are coming or we're in a recession. And that's happening, right? But number two, I thought it could really spook a lot of the market too, because they're going to go, whoa, they really did it. And it did surprise, which is part of why the bond market got more nervous than the stock market did. And you actually
Yeah.
saw mortgage rates tick up. So they
Yeah.
did it. I think they needed to do it. And I know, yes, they are afraid that all the data is showing them there's a problem. And the last thing
Yeah.
I'll just say on that before I open it back up to you on your show, is that, people think, because this is what Powell keeps saying, we're data dependent, we're data dependent, we're going to react to the data. It's a complete shift in what the Fed is supposed to do. Fed monetary policy is officially a leading economic indicator, meaning what they see in the future happening, not what they saw in the past, is
Yeah.
what they're basing their decisions on. They see significant economic softening, and therefore they are afraid, and therefore they are cutting in advance to try to get as much ahead of it as they can. But their big cut tells you they see pain ahead, and therefore they're reacting in fear based on future, not based on what happened and what was published last week.
Yeah, there's so much in that we're going to talk about. Maybe we'll have to talk more about it next week. But something else I'll tell you right now. I think I called this Thursday morning, the day after the Fed announcement. I said, folks, they're going 50 in November.
I
They're going
think
to
they
do it
will too.
again. Yeah, they're
They're going to
going
have
50
to.
in. They have to.
Yeah.
So they're going to be down 100 basis points in, I don't know, 5 weeks, right? Total duration, 6 weeks, whatever that is. And yeah, they're afraid. They're afraid. And you're right about the bond and the stock market, right? The Fed surprises the market with a 50 basis point cut. Mortgage rates go up. The long bond goes up. Short term goes down, right? So it's steepening. But then the stock market rips. The stock market is saying one thing and the bond market is saying another. Uh,
Yeah.
we don't know who's right yet, but yeah, it's interesting. And I don't know if
I
you
know
saw
who's
this
right.
all.
The bond
Yeah,
market's right.
the bond market.
They
No, the bond
always
market.
are. It's
Yeah.
bigger money. They
Big,
know the
much,
economy
much
better than
bigger
a
money.
lot of the stock market. People don't realize how much bigger the bond market is than the stock
Oh,
market. And it's
it's
primarily central banks and institutions buying bonds that understands a lot of this a lot better than the average investor throwing money at Nvidia and the healthcare stocks.
yeah. And I don't know if you've seen this. I think this could be a worldwide problem. I think it was Monday, Germany declared that basically they're in a recession. France this morning declared that they're contracting. We've got the UK Prime Minister saying we have to invigorate the population and get out of doom loops. You've got China. Oh my gosh, China turning on a bazooka of stimulus. I think we're
Yeah.
in a worldwide rate cutting cycle. And, are we going back to zero?
It's one of those things. I know we've talked about this, over the last year or so, but Powell really has been trying to break that zero bound and say, if we hold high for a lot longer, even though they don't want to admit that a recession actually cleans out all the excess, and recessions are actually a normal part of the business cycle that can be good to get rid of some of that. Like, if they can hold rates high enough, just long enough without breaking the banking system, which they've
Yeah.
backstopped, right? Then they have a lot more room to start really stimulating without going back to the zero bound. So they do not want to go back to the zero bound. The Congressional Budget Office, the FOMC, they all have that. Even though they have in their base case a recession, they're not telling you that. They're lying. I've read their actual documents. It says we might be in even recessionary conditions right now. They expect that we may have a technical recession. However, they all have rates not going below 2 to 2.5%.
Yeah.
So I say if we have a vanilla, run of the mill recession and they're able to stimulate us out of it, not that that's what I say they should do, but it's what they always do. They will cut rates, and I think they will try to keep it no lower than 2.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, being in a global recession, which we pretty much are, we
Yeah.
don't have China to come to our rescue like we did in 2009, right?
Yep.
We have
Correct.
no countries coming to the rescue or having anything on the current horizon immediately over the next 2 to 3 years that's going to create such a stimulus globally that it's going to create GDP for all these countries, including us. We don't have those savior countries coming in to help us. And so if we're in a recession and we're pretty much one of the healthiest economies of those that are already in it technically, it's not real good. And so if you have a global recession and it gets deep and it lasts, the Fed absolutely will end up going zero bound, because they will have no choice. And then you're going to have how long does it take the Republicans and Democrats after the election to actually work together and pass legislation that might be quantitative easing again and
Yeah.
all the helicopter money? So I
Ooh,
anticipate low
scary.
rates faster than they're saying, because I think we're having a recession, as all of you have heard me say for quite a while. However, I do think that it could be worse than what most of the big names are hoping that it is. And in that case, rates go back to the zero bound. We get some more money, and guess what? You better do buy as much real estate as you can, lock in those low rates for as long as you possibly can, and then wait to see what happens after that, because none of us really know.
Yeah. This is going to be fun to watch. On a great news, we talk every week. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. Have a great week.
Thank you. You too.